Hey you guys, it's me Kiana coming at you today. And I'm coming at you because I told you guys that I was going to reveal some details that you guys never actually got regarding how this all happened with Chuck and I. Now, many of you guys know the whole story. We met in a homeless shelter. We were really friends. We were just friends, nothing but friends, before we went on our first date. Um, I was pregnant at the homeless shelter on bed rest. I was um, I was called baby baby by him. He started the name, and he actually gave me that name. It was a secret thing at first, and then somebody, one of the men slipped up and said baby baby, and I'm like, where did that name come from? And come to find out, Chuck is the person that named me baby baby. Why? Because I was the only one in the shelter that was pregnant, for one. Um, and for two, I am the baby of my entire family. So, hence the name Baby Baby. So, you already know that story. Um, many of you that have actually watched me for a long time, you already know actually why I actually wound up at the homeless shelter. Just briefly, I'll just discuss it. I was with a guy for a year and a half. I did not know that he was in basically in remission, as far not in remission, but what is the word you use when you're not using drugs you didn't I didn't know that he was a drug abuser before. And I was with him. He stuck to me like glue for a year and some months. I did not know. Now I know, looking back, he stuck to me because I was his anchor. I was what kept him clean. And if he stuck underneath of me, then he would not relapse. That's the word, relapse. So he stuck to me like glue. Eventually, branched off and tried to go places and things like that without me. Needless to say, he got back on drugs, and at the moment, again, I did not know that he was a drug abuser before. So when he relapsed, it was all new to me at that point. And how did I find out he relapsed? Well, he took the rent money. Yeah, I was on bed rest. I was pregnant. Problem of pregnancy, y'all already know that. And he actually took the rent money. So we was living paycheck to paycheck at that point, just like many Americans are. We was living paycheck to paycheck. I had to quit my job that I had because I was literally on bed rest, you guys. So living paycheck to paycheck, you can't afford to skip rent, and that's what happened. That's how I wind up at the homeless shelter. Um, and Chuck was actually at the homeless shelter. Just a brief story on that. Many of you know, and I've already revealed to you guys, that my husband was born with several disabilities. And one is MS, and also one is called Bell's disease, which is a it's a muscular disease. It's at the time when he first was diagnosed, where there was only four, um, I believe, in this state or in the U.S. I don't know, but it's a rare disease. It does cause him to have a form of spinal bifida, scoliosis, a lot of different things. That's why I said that he has several things that will fall in the line of having a disability. Well, my husband was raised by a very strong black man, and also his mom is Caucasian. Chuck is biracial, as you all know, and his father, literally, they always drilled it in him that it was nothing wrong with him, and that he was normal. He better act normal. He better continue to push forward. And with doing that, though, they really, really, um, in all aspects, did not acknowledge his disability. Even though he had 15 surgeries by the age of 10. Yes, my husband has had 15 major surgeries by the age of 10. Um, and he was in a wheelchair half of his life. Yeah, my husband that doesn't let me lift a bag. My husband that pushes forward and still works. My husband that spoils me rotten. Yeah, my husband was in a wheelchair most of his life. My husband is a true walking miracle, in every sense of the word. And you know, he was so told, he was so much, it was so much embedded in him to not acknowledge his disability that his parents didn't even in a way acknowledge it at all. So he was not one of those kids, nor an adult that received disability, received government aid. No, Chuck actually, even when we was in the shelter, never received any government aid. And because of this, and because he never was getting any disability or receiving any government aid, his parents never even applied, even though he would have qualified for it, because they did not acknowledge and didn't want him to think that he was disabled or anything wrong with it. Now, that was a good thing, but it also was a bad thing because um, his dad passed when he was 12 on his 12th birthday. His mom passed as he became an adult, early adult though, and he didn't have any support system, nor any financial support system. Now, some would say, well, just go ahead and get a job. He did that, but the thing is finding a job that will accept you being visually disabled, meaning that they can see that you have a curvature in your spine. They're going to automatically think he can't perform duties, all of these things. So it was either, if you think about it, these are the choices. Go get a job, but find a job that's willing to accept your disabilities, accept that you may have limitations on what you can do, um, and you don't receive any disability. So, yeah. So, and then you don't have any family to turn to financially or anything like that to get you on your feet. So that's how my husband wind up at the homeless shelter. So our story, I was trying to fill y'all in. Our story is quite different than some people that may be at a homeless shelter. We literally got there or were there. We now know that it was God, destined for us to be there for certain reasons. Some that I've shared for you guys, to you guys, and some I haven't. But you'll see it all come together, and I think this is going to bring it all together as well for people that actually know our story. So, yeah. So, what happened? Okay, we were really, really friends, you guys. That's all. It wasn't no. That's the funny part. It wasn't no hinting around to trying to be fresh, or it wasn't no, uh, winking eyes at each other. None of that. We were truly, truly friends in every sense of the word. He was the DVD guy, and I used to always buy all the DVDs because I was, remember, on bed rest. But I did force myself to go to school, even though that's just another story. But even though I was on bed rest, I was the only one there that literally forced themselves to go to school, and they actually paid for me to get my daycare certifications updated. The actual shelter did that. Why? Because they saw that even though I was the only one on bed rest, I was the only one that pushed myself in that way as well, and actually the only one that left there with updated certifications and all of that. The only one out of all the shelter, out of all the people there that was not on bed rest. Yeah. But anyway, so he was truly my friend, you guys. Now looking back and after hearing the stories Chuck has told me, Chuck was praying for a wife in Bible study. I was praying for a husband as well, but Chuck was praying for a specific wife, and that wife was me. I did not know that at the time. Of course, I didn't. So, okay. So, I have the baby. I go in labor. I have the baby. Um, and as you all know, it was a problem pregnancy. Pootie and I had to be resuscitated. Um, that's a long story. But we had to be resuscitated. I was in ICU for, I think, 5 days. Pootie was in ICU for 2 days. Um, we have a wonderful story because Chuck actually saw Pootie before I even saw him. I wasn't able to see the baby because I was in ICU, and because of they didn't want a baby to be in that area or that atmosphere in the ICU unit. I had to get out of ICU in order to see the baby. So on day 5, I actually first time saw Pootie. Just beautiful, just absolutely beautiful. I remember. like it was yesterday. And who comes through the door? First of all, let me back up. The sperm donor was there the whole time. Just stayed there the whole time. I think he was there in a total of like 7 days. Um, he looking crazy, running back and forth, you know, running back and forth, um, you know, getting hamburgers and saying the hamburger's good and all that stupid stuff. You know how, I hate to say it, but you know how junkies act. Anyway, yeah, y'all already know. Don't get mad because I said junkie, because that's what he was to me. I'm not. I don't have to show that. I don't have to show him no respect. Um, anyway, so he running back and forth. Who comes through the door but Chuck? I'm laying up in the hospital bed. Okay, Chuck comes through the door. Chuck like, girl, I know you ain't sitting there with lip gloss on, lipstick on, and your hair done to a T. So I'm laughing and stuff. Chuck looks over and he's sitting there. He like, what's up? What's up, yo? The donor I'm talking about. Chuck like, what's up? Okay, so y'all want to really know how Chuck roll? I'm going to tell y'all. See, a lot of people get it twisted because they heard, oh, her husband disabled. He pushes himself and he's such a wonderful husband to her. He's good to her. He's tolerated her mouth at times and her saying all kinds of stuff. And, you know, he's still always by her side. And I love how he look at you, Kiana. And, yeah, but I'm going to tell y'all how Chuck rolls. Don't get it twisted because of sweet, quiet Chuck. So, what happens is, I'm talking to him. The sperm donor goes out of the room again to go get another hamburger or whatever. So, you know, Chuck like, excuse my French, y'all, I have to say what he said. Why that nigga here? I'm like, what? And he like, now mind you, we friends. He like, Kiana, let me tell you something. You don't need him. You can do 10 times better than him. So I'm like, oh, you know, he used to come to visit at the shelter and stuff sometimes. So I'm like, you know, I'm not with him. You already know that. I wasn't sleeping with him or anything like that. I feel as though if a man will come to a shelter to visit you, if a man will come to your home and see your lights is off, if a man will see you ain't got no bread in the refrigerator, then sorry. I mean, we can talk as far as being friends. Talk is the key word. That's what we can do. That's it. And that's if I feel like doing that at the moment. Because a man is not going to see you go without necessities and claim he care about you. No, because a man shows through his actions if he cares about you. A man shows his character through his actions if he cares about you. A lot of people say, oh, he loved me. Yeah, he loved you, but does somebody love you if they're cheating on you? No, he doesn't. People say, well, that's the nature of a man. No, it's not. No, it's not. Because if somebody really cares about you, they will go above and beyond. They will meet your standards in all ways, shapes, or forms, just to have you. If a man really cares about you, is he going to see you sitting in the dark? And some people say, well, you know, everybody falls on rough times. Okay, everybody does fall on rough times. But you need to have, that man needs to be actively doing something to get them lights on. If he cares about you. My husband disabled, and he still pushes himself to go to work. Why? Because he cares about me. Why? Because he knows I have standards of treating me a certain way and keeping me and holding me high. And because of this, it's easy for my husband to do these things because he wants me, because he loves me, because he holds me dear. That's when a man loves a woman. Again, a man will show you he loves you through his actions, not just through his words. Now, I'm sorry for digressing. I just had to put that out there. I had to put it out there to you. Okay? Because just in case you don't know, now you know. So, yeah, so he was like, you don't have to raise your children by yourself. So we left it at that. We was talking back and forth. I was like, I know that. I know God will send me somebody. We talking back and forth. Okay. Um, Time goes past, couple of weeks. Um, I would say 3 weeks goes past, and I find myself in the cafeteria area, which is the dining hall of the shelter, and Chuck comes in. Now that I know what went on at the moment. I didn't know at the moment what was going on. Okay, so I'm filling you guys in, but I'm also telling you guys some of what I found out later. So I did not know. Now I know, but I didn't know at that moment that Chuck had received his first paycheck. Now, you've heard my husband already say this before. You've probably heard me say it before. But my husband was always a go-getter. My husband, like I said, never received a government aid or anything like that, so he had to make it happen. Sometimes jobs wouldn't hire him because of his disability and all that. So my husband, like I said, was a DVD guy. My husband would go pay the payment, disabled and all, walk and walk and walk to sell those DVDs and stuff. Okay, so that's my husband's hustle. Yeah, we all have one, don't we? That was my husband's hustle. So he finally found a job that would hire him, and that was the cab company I told you guys that eventually later on we both wind up working for, and we both wind up learning from, and then that's how we branched off and owned our own transportation company. But that's another story. Now, so he found a company that would hire him, and it was a cab company, and he was the office manager dispatcher. Okay, so out of his first check, literally, he had just got paid like an hour before I saw him in the dining hall. So I see him in the dining hall, and he says, "When you gonna let me take you out?" I what? What?
I came to you after I got the job 2 days before my paycheck.
Oh, that was 2 days before your paycheck?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And asked you out on a date.
Oh, okay. So you already knew you was getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
He corrected me. He corrected me. I'm sorry. What'd you say, Daddy?
My first check.
His first check. 2 days before his first check. He said, "When you gonna let me take you out?" Now this stunned me. I was like, I literally was flustered. I was like, huh? First I thought he was joking, because everybody was in the dining hall. So I'm like, huh? And he like, "When you gonna let me take you out?"
Mm-hmm.
And his sister was in the car. I still remember that, baby, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
His sister was in the car, and she was in the passenger side waiting for him to come out. He was coming in initially to come sell me some new DVDs, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was coming in to sell me some DVDs. Okay, so I was like, "Whenever you want to." You remember that, Daddy? "Whenever you want to," because I was stunned, and I was like, "Whenever you want to," and he was like, "Well, how about this? You tell me where you want to go." Now, I'm going to tell y'all now, looking back, I didn't know at the moment, but I know now. My husband is so cheap, you guys. So, for him to say, "You can go wherever you want," yeah, that brother was sprung and didn't even, I didn't even know it. Because my husband don't tell nobody but me, "You can go wherever you want to." I'm going to tell you that right now. My husband is cheap. He used to take girls to McDonald's. You hear him saying a dollar menu. I'm not lying when I say this, you guys. And they would watch a DVD that he got, that he going to sell to somebody else. Yeah, y'all don't know. My husband is very cheap, but when it concerns me, he is totally opposite of that. He is totally opposite. So for him that has said, "You can go wherever you want, you let me know where you want to go," was a big thing for Chuck, okay? So, let's speed up. So I was like, okay. So I called him, we talked on the phone. He worked overnight, so we would talk on the phone some of the time. Mind you, Pootie at this point is not even a month old, okay? Now, it was weird because Chuck and I actually could say that we lived together before we actually became a couple or got married. Because he lived upstairs and he lived in the men's area, and I lived downstairs in the women's area. Mind you, everybody has, this shelter is different from a lot of shelters. Everybody had their own room and everything, okay? TVs and all that stuff in it. So, you know, I would see him all the time. He would talk to Pootie, play with Pootie and all that kind of stuff. So, we goes on our first date, you guys, okay? And we still go to this restaurant all the time just to bring back memories, okay? So, we go to the restaurant I chose, and first of all, we had to take his sister and them somewhere. It was far. So Chuck actually held my hand, you guys. One hand driving and the other hand holding my hand the whole time, you guys. I just thought it was the sweetest thing, okay? I'm still smiling over it, blushing. Anyway, so he holds my hand the whole time. Our date was cut short because he had to go to work that night and we had to spend so much time driving other people around that we only had an hour at the restaurant at best. So we were talking, and I was shy. Mind you, it was weird because we were so close friends. Soon as we became dating, it was like, soon as we became dating, it literally became like I became shy. Even he became shy. I remember, Daddy, you remember when I used to didn't tell you stuff, I would text it to you?
Yeah.
I was too shy to say certain things, so I would text it to him. It was so crazy. It was so crazy, but it was so cute. But yeah. So what? On the way to the date, I'm all over the place, but y'all my girls, so y'all understand. On the way to the date, guess who calls? The sperm donor. So Chuck is driving. I'm in the passenger side, hooked from head to toe, man. Right. Okay. So. And Chuck arrived, by the way, he opened the doors, arrived with candy and flowers and all that kind of stuff. Yes, Chuck did it. Okay. So the sperm donor calls. Where you at? I can hear you in a car. Where you at? And I'm like, why? Soon as I said why, you already out on the date and all this kind of stuff. Okay. And I'm thinking to myself, you already sniffing coke? You a junkie and you gonna tell me I'm already, meaning that I'm doing something bad because I'm going on a date and my baby is 4 weeks old, basically. Okay. So I'm like, whatever. So he's fussing, and mind you, I'm not with him, but he had the type of attitude that you always gonna be mine and all that kind of that's silly ghetto mentality. Okay. So Chuck is driving, and I'm like, I'm letting Chuck hear because I'm pulling the phone away so Chuck can hear him going off, okay? Talking about my mother and my father, because he's a late child, so his parents are really, really old. But my mother and my father, that's why we ain't going to be dealing with you anyway and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, I live all the way in like 4 counties from you. Who cares? I don't deal with your family. I don't deal with you. All this kind of stuff. Anyway, needless to say, Chuck is like, yeah, you can hang up the phone. You can hang up the phone. Real cool as a cucumber. You can hang up the phone. I know he better not go out his way and say nothing else to you, though. So I'm like, okay. What it was is that, and I even heard the sperm donor, I even heard him say this out his mouth. You know what it was? He slept on Chuck. Why did he sleep on Chuck? He slept on Chuck because of his disability, which was the stupidest thing for him to do because that man that with that disability took what he thought his woman from him. Why? Because he treated me with class and grace and dignity. He treated me with respect. He put me on a pedestal. He loved me through his actions. Again, a man will love you through their actions. If in fact they really love you. Keyword, if in fact they really love you. So that man with that disability, I didn't see those disabilities. Why? I saw a man that was an actual man. A man that didn't even ask me out until he knew he had a secure job. Even though he was still getting money from making his DVDs, because y'all know DVDs sell. He was still making money from doing his DVDs. But he made sure that he had a secured 9 to 5 before he would even ask me out. That's how much respect for me that he showed. That's how much he put me on a pedestal. And just because, just like I looked beyond his disability, he looked beyond the fact that I had children. He looked beyond the fact that I had a ex junkie. And some people would see that, oh, she was with an ex junkie, and think that, oh, she just a weak woman, or she just feel needy and she'll just tolerate and take anything. No, he looked beyond it and saw that it was a circumstance. He looked beyond it and saw, no, that's not the type of person she is. What it was is that happened. It happened for a reason. He looked beyond the fact that I too was in a homeless shelter. He looked beyond that. We were able to look beyond both of those things. And with looking beyond these things, you're able to see somebody's true character. Now, I'm not saying that everybody should be with a man that maybe don't have absolutely down to the where they actually are homeless. I'm not saying that. Just like I'm not saying every man should be with a woman that's down to be just being homeless. Okay, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that you have to look at a man's or a woman's character, because those things will last beyond someone's circumstance. Do you understand what I'm saying? Those things, it will define what they'll do when they do have. Those things will actually shape them and show you the person they are inside, with or without. You understand what I'm saying? You can go get a man that has everything. He can have everything that the world considers wonderful or considers valuable. The car, the house, the money. But his character is flawed. And I'm not saying everybody that has money, cars, and all that kind of stuff have flawed character. I'm saying when we focus on the wrong things, those worldly valuables, sometimes we don't see that their character may be flawed. And I'd rather have a man that don't have as much all day long, that doesn't have a character that's flawed. I'd rather be with a man that don't have as much, that will hold me high and show me respect in all avenues. I'd rather have a man that I can build with and we can have later on. Okay? Just like us. Chuck and I had nothing. He just had a job. He had more than me at that point. But we built from that. And now I have a man that has those things. Car, some money, and all those kind of things. All the worldly valuables. I have that. But I also have a man above all that doesn't have a flawed character. A man that knows how to show me respect in all avenues. That knows how to hold me high. And place me on a pedestal as his wife. And he honors me as such. So I just wanted to tell you guys that is some of what happened to us. That's how the details that maybe I wasn't able to give you guys before. What is you blushing for? And needless to say, we were married 30 days later after our first date. We were married. We had our wedding reception at the homeless shelter. We paid for the entire reception. Or should I say Chuck paid for the entire reception. 30 days after that, not even 30 days after our wedding, we moved to our own apartment. After that apartment, once we got there, Chuck was still working. We actually lived next door to the cab company dispatching office. When I say next door, I'm talking about like where most of you guys had to go the walkway to your mailbox. That was the dispatching company. The dispatching company, the cab company, actually owned the property that we lived on, the apartment building. So I got a job there. Chuck and I worked different shifts. We would take Pootie to work with us. We had to high chair the office and everything, because we were in a position where that cab company that we worked for, it was only one person each shift in the whole office. So if it was my shift, I was the only one in there. If it was Chuck's shift, he was the only one in there. So we had, see how God works things out, you guys? So me being business minded, I sat there and soaked up and learned everything I could from that cab company. Everything about transportation, everything concerning the laws, everything concerning licensing, any and everything that transportation company knew, I knew. And that's when we opened up our own transportation company. So I hope this story has inspired you guys. I hope this story has made you smile. I feel so good going down memory lane with you guys. I want to do a video, not today, but I want to do a video also on that first apartment that we lived in. Because a lot of actually not, y'all don't know actually what we all went through and the things that we endured to get to where we are now. You guys know some of it. You know about the shelter, but you don't know after the shelter. We actually moved after that apartment to a gated community. Yeah, that's why when people say stuff about where people live and all that kind of stuff, I live in a nice area. I do, but I lived in a very nice area before this. Very nice. And it's a reason why we came here, and I'm going to share that with you guys. It's a reason why we moved to where we live now, because we learned to live a little bit below our means versus living way above them. We lived in a gated community, yeah, and that was a year and maybe 3 months after we left the homeless shelter. Yeah. So I will share that with you guys. All of that stuff I'm going to share with you guys. So those will be some videos that you guys never saw before. Hope this has inspired you and made you smile, and give you yet another layer or some more details that you guys never got about Chuck and I. Be blessed.